Hello, this is the course of General Linguistics lecture about syntax for fourth year students, Department of English. So what is syntax? First, it implicates the way in which words are arranged. It is arrangement of words into grammatical acceptable sentences. It organizes the relationship of meanings within sentences and often between them. So the word here is syntax, taken from the Greek word syntaxis. Syntax is one of the core subfields of linguistics. It deals with how words, phrases, and sentences combined together to give or to yield grammatical and acceptable sentences. For example, Jack at everyday college, Ahmed with. Yes, to the one who knows English, this makes no sense, although there is some intuitive drives telling the native speaker that this is a sentence, but it is not well ordered. So if we rearrange this sentence into everyday Jack at the college with Ahmed, it could have a sense, although there is no verb, but still one can say it is a sentence, but it needs a verb, which could be go, to be Jack and Ahmed. Jack goes with Ahmed to college every day. So this is the concern of syntax. So syntax deals with rule, the all and only criterion. All and only criterion. What this means? This means that our analysis must account for all grammatically correct phrases and sentences. All grammatically correct phrases and sentences. Syntax deals with all grammatically correct phrases and sentences, and only those grammatically correct phrases and sentences in whatever language we are analyzing. So all and only grammatical correct phrases and sentences. Now, when we talk about syntax, we always have certain connection with what is called generative grammar. This is a school of linguistics which is mainly related to syntax. In this school, syntax is the core of all the other micro-linguistic levels. So syntax is the core of phonology, is the core of morphology, and is the core of sentence structure, which is syntax itself, and it is also the core of semantics. So the whole issue depends on syntax, which is a set of rules. Now let's see what this school is about. First, as we said, it is a school of linguistics pioneered by Chomsky, the American linguist, the famous American linguist and a political analyst. It depends on the formal approach to linguistics. As you know, linguistics can be studied in terms of formal approach or in terms of functional approach. This grammar or this school of linguistics is called is studied according to the formal approach. It gives formal rules, set of rules that can be used to produce an unlimited set of sentences. So it depends on the finite and infinite set of sentences, finite set of rules, which can produce an infinite set of sentences or phrases. Now we can produce large number of infinite or infinite phrases using this rule. For example, preposition plus noun. For example, in the zoo, when on the table, near the window, etc. Unlimited set of phrases. This book, I mean the textbook, your textbook of George Yule, depends or adopts the generative grammar in terms of analyzing phrases and sentences according to syntactic structures. Adopts the yes, this grammar is successful at the analysis of syntactic structures, but it also it is also confronted with several criticisms. Now, one of the tenets of this school is that this type of grammar should also be capable of revealing the basis of two phenomena. One, the surface structure, and then and two, the deep structure. The surface structure, how superficially different sentences are, and the deep structure, how some superficially similar sentences in fact they are different in terms of deep structure. Now, if we say Charlie broke the window, and the window is broken by Charlie, the first one is active voice, and the second one is passive voice. So the distinction between them is the difference in their surface structure only, while in their deep structure they are the same. Why? Because the idea is the same. The idea for which the sentence represents, or for which the sentences represent, is the same. The idea for which the sentences represent is the same, which is a window broken by somebody, or somebody broke the window. This is the idea. So it is one idea. The distinction only in the surface structure for certain stylistic reasons. Now, the underlying level, as we said, where the basic components can be represented, called their deep structure. Now, the underlying level is called the deep structure, and the surface level, these two surface levels of one underlying level, can be called the surface structure. So what is the surface structure? The surface structure is the surface representation of the underlying level. The surface representation of the underlying level. The surface representation in terms of semantics, syntax, and phonology. According to Chomsky, it starts with syntax, phonology, and semantics. Syntax, semantics, and phonology. So, while the deep structure, it is the idea. It is the existence of the elements of the sentence. The existence of the elements of the sentence in mind. Rearranging them, clothing them with the semantic elements, and then clothing them with the phonological elements. This is called the surface structure. Now, when dealing with the surface structure, we'll face certain structural ambiguity, certain structural ambiguities. So, what is the structural ambiguity? Now, when we say structural ambiguity, there is a presupposition which says there must be other types of ambiguity. Now we will not go into the details of the types of ambiguity. We have only the structural ambiguity. Now, what is the structural ambiguity? It is the surface structure. It is the surface structure which has two distinct underlying interpretations, two or more distinct underlying or deep structure interpretation. So basically, or simply speaking, structural ambiguity, it is the structure which is ambiguous. What does it mean, ambiguous here? Ambiguous, it means it can be the surface structure which can be interpreted into one or more interpretations. Although logically we can easily understand it, but sometimes one might ask, why are there two or more interpretations for one surface structure? Now, if we take the example, Anne pumped into a man with an umbrella. Now this with an umbrella, now it has two meanings. It could be Annie pumped the man with umbrella, which means Annie used the umbrella to pump the man, or Anna pumped the man who has an umbrella. Two meanings. So which one does Annie mean? Structurally ambiguous. Or the Arabic one, Kabab Arbil al-Shahir. Who's al-Shahir here? Is it the Kabab or Arbil? Now this is from the Arabic language. Or أشهد أن عليا ولي الله. This is okay. Now وأولاده المعصومين بالحق حجج الله. Now who's حجج الله? المعصومين or المعصومين بالحق. So these are structural ambiguities. Now logically speaking, it is crystal clear what the meaning. How can we interpret the meaning? Of course, we can interpret that the kabab is the famous one, and the and al-ma'sumin bil-haq, both are the hujaj Allah. We can logically we can easily interpret them, but structurally there is ambiguity. There is a kind of ambiguity here. Now this is what is meant by structural ambiguity. So simply speaking, structural ambiguity means a surface structure level which can be interpreted in one or more than one way. That's it. Now another property of the generative grammar, the school of Chomsky's linguistics, is recursion. What recursion refers to here? It refers to sentences or phrases that can have other sentences and or phrases inside them at an unlimited level. For example, the man who the girl who sneezed saw is my friend. You see? So the basic sentence is the man is my friend. Now within this sentence, within this sentence, another sentence recurs in it, which is who the girl or who the girl saw. Here, whom the girl saw. It means whom the girl saw. So this is another sentence. Inside this another sentence, there is another one which recurs within it. Who sneezed. So one sentence, two sentences, three sentences. Three sentences within one, three clauses within one sentence. So one of the generative grammar properties is that the recursion the recursion. Language can recur, or elements, linguistic elements can recur within each other in an or at an unlimited level, infinitive level. We can use more and more and more of these recurred clauses, phrases, or sentences. And this recursion has another property, which is embeddedness. We will deal with it later on. This is another example: the cat that chased the rat, that chased the mouse, that, and so on and so forth. This is called recursion. Now, to analyze linguistic constructions according to the generative grammar, we have two ways. One is called the tree diagram, and the second is called the phrase structure rules. Now let's start with the tree diagram. First, tree diagram is referred to tree diagram because it is like a tree which is upside down, and it provides the visual representation of the constituents of the corresponding expression, constituents of a sentence, constituents of a phrase, constituents of any part of the linguistic construction, according to these limited set of rules. According to this limited set of rules, we can provide an unlimited set of sentences, and this is based on one of the language properties, which is called productivity or creativity. You must have studied it earlier. Now let's take this example. The girl saw a dog. Now, according to the syntactic structure, according to these set of rules, now one of these rules is that sentence can be noun phrase, can be composed of noun phrase and verb phrase, and the noun phrase can be composed of article and noun. The article is the, noun is the girl, and verb phrase can be composed of or combined of verb and noun phrase. The verb saw, noun phrase, article, and noun dog. So this is how it goes in analyzing the sentences or the phrases according to the generative grammar. This is the other one, which is the symbols used in the tree diagram. Of course, S for sentence, N for noun, V for verb, art for article, and so on and so forth. These are important. The notation marks. This abstract is represents an grammatical sentence. This arrow represents consists of or rewrites as. These parenthetical brackets, optional constituents, and these are one and only one of these constituents must be selected. Pay attention to these. They are important in terms of writing the phrase structure rules, or the representing the tree diagram in phrase structure rules. Now, what are the phrase structure rules? This is the second approach, which is very appealing because it would enable us to generate a very large, as I said, a very large number or unlimited number of sentences with a limited set of structure rules. Now, when we say sentence, the sentence must or is rewritten as NP, VP, noun phrase, verb phrase. There is no sentence which lacks one of these two elements, two phrases. You see, this is a fact. There is no sentence without one of these two phrases. Now, when it comes to the noun phrase must be rewritten as, you see, these brackets, only article optional adjective and noun, or pronoun, or proper noun. The verb phrase must be rewritten as verb plus noun phrase, or optional prepositional phrase, or optional adverbial. And the prepositional phrase, PP, prepositional phrase, must be rewritten preposition plus noun phrase, and so on and so forth. You see these limited set of sentences, rules. Set of rules. This limited set of rules can produce or can yield an unlimited set of sentences. Unlimited set of sentences. Now then we come to the lexical rules. Now we have the syntactic rules, but there must be lexical rules in return. Why? Because we said we depend on syntax. We start with the structure, and then we cover this structure with the lexical rules, and then we cover the structure and the lexical rules with phonological rules. So it all depends on rules, set of rules, which yields unlimited set of constructions. Now, lexical rules are the rules that specify which words can be used when we rewrite constituents. So as I said, to turn structures into recognizable English, for example, or Arabic, or French, or whatever language, we need lexical rules. We need the lexical rules. For example, noun, pronoun. So Mary, George. Noun, for example, girl, dog, boy. Pronoun, it, you, he, and so on and so forth. Article, a and the. Verb, help, run, play, and so on and so forth. These the type of verbs. So we can rely on these rules the lexical rules, to generate the grammatical sentence, but not any grammatical sentences. You see? Now, these rules sometimes moved from one place into another. How? Why? Depending on the mode of the sentence. The mode of the sentence. Sometimes we have a declarative sentence, which starts with subject, verb, complement, object, and so on and so forth. Sometimes we have a question, interrogative sentences. So here there is some kind of movement. The rules can be moved. Is Ahmed here? Is different from Ahmed is here. You see? So how can you represent this one? Will you help Mary? Of course, here movement rules are the rules of moving constituents or part of a constituent, such as moving the auxiliary in the question. So here this auxiliary will be moved from its regular position when the sentence is declarative. Okay? So this is what is called movement. It is the movement of a constituent or part of a constituent from its ordinary place into another place, depending on the mode of the sentence, whether declarative, interrogative, exclamative, or directive, imperative. Now let's see. The declarative sentence, you will help Mary. So NP, auxiliary, VP. NP pronoun, you, auxiliary, will, VP, verb phrase, which is verb, and NP, which is proper noun, which is Mary. Now when we turn it into a question, so the auxiliary constituent, which is part of the constituent, of the VP constituent, will be moved to the front here. And so all this process is called the movement rules. Now there is the complement phrase. Complement phrase. In addition to the verb phrase, noun phrase, there is the complement phrase. How to analyze, for example, John believed, noun phrase, verb phrase. Okay, that Kathy knew Mary. So this is another sentence. Kathy knew Mary. Okay, since we have that as a complementizer, then we will set a rule which is called complementizer rule or complement phrase rule, structure rule. Now, here the rule, which is sentence, is to be rewritten as noun phrase, verb phrase. The verb phrase is to be rewritten as verb plus CP, which is complement phrase. CP, complement phrase. To complement phrase, and the complement phrase itself is to be rewritten as complementizer and sentence. And then we go analyzing the sentence as it is usual analysis, which is noun phrase, verb phrase, etc. Now let's see. So John believed that Kathy knew that Mary helped George, and so on. So the basic structure is that noun phrase, verb phrase. The noun phrase, proper noun, which is John. The verb phrase is verb, believed. And complement phrase, CP. The complement phrase is to be rewritten as complementizer, which is that, and sentence. Now, let's start again with the sentence here. Noun phrase, verb phrase. The noun phrase, proper noun, which is Kathy. The verb phrase, which is verb plus again CP, which is complement phrase. The CP is complementizer, which is that, and sentence. It could be here that, which, whose, who, whom, and so on and so forth. Again, noun phrase, verb phrase, and so on and so on. So we can use this at unlimited number of sentences. Okay. Now that's all. That's all for the syntax. It is briefly introduced. I hope that I have made myself clear and you understand what I have just explained. That's all for me. Thank you very much. If you have any question or any inquiry, please contact me online.